Spencer here with the first episode in my Handyman Diaries. Today was a wacky busy day with one job just stacked right after the other, but the strangest one might have been the simplest. It was when I got a phone call from someone asking me to come over and change a light bulb. Okay, so the deal with the light bulb job is that it didn't end up being as ridiculous as it sounded over the phone. The dead bulb was actually 20 feet up on a sloped, vaulted ceiling, and it took a little gymnastics and some ingenuity to get the ladder just right and change it out. After that, I went over to this other house where the gal who lives there wants a bunch of different things, but one is some new can lights installed in her soffit. So I took some measurements, and the install of the lights is going to be later on this week or maybe next week. Then it was off to the tub cap install job, part 2. I was actually out there a week ago and the parts weren't there, so I had to bag it, and now I was back. The deal is that a company based in Florida originally installed the tub here in Illinois, or they paid someone to install it. I'm not exactly sure. But the deal with the tub is that it ended up with the end cap missing. It's kind of one of these tubs that's sort of modular and has these different panels on the outside. Anyway, the end cap was missing, so I drove way out there again into the country, kind of a cool, funky house way out in the middle of cornfields. I drove out there again, cut the end cap to size, screwed it in this really tight little space, all the time realizing that I really need a right angle screwdriver, which I went and bought that very night, and it was about $2. Like one of those tools you just should have with you, but I didn't have. Anyway, I sealed it up with some silicone, the tub that is, and thank you, Florida. That was a good job. Next up was decommissioning the hot tub, which is at the job site where I nixed the deck a few weeks back. You might have seen that video. They have a big old hot tub. It's out of commission and they're ready to get rid of it before I do more landscaping and things with the yard. So I've been trying to find a new home for the hot tub via like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and everything. So I wanted to disconnect the power to the hot tub so it's ready to go if anyone wants the hot tub. Another option that does occur to me is that it could look pretty good on the back deck of my new dump truck. So we'll have to see what happens with the hot tub. All right, next stop is one of those jobs where you got to bring just like a little bit of everything. There's a closet that needs to be drywalled because I had to tear out the drywall because the homeowner had like mice in the walls. So anyway, I tore out the drywall. I kind of filled it with metal mesh and stuff. I'm gonna insulate it and drywall it up. Outside there's more kind of anti-mouse stuff in a kind of like this surround around the vent, the kitchen vent, and some other like insulating cracks and ceiling stuff. It's kind of one of those things where it's not exactly the way I would have done it, like tearing out this closet in that way, but it's what they wanted, so it's what I did. I find a lot of that, you know. Sometimes when you're working for somebody, you have to take your very best judgment and kind of set it aside and meet them halfway and do what they want to do, and that works out and they're happy, and you know, maybe it's the best way to do it. Who knows about my own best judgment or whatever. Anyway, that's the next stop, this kind of multi-task job, a lot of jobs. And I was really happy to get this closet kind of back in closet form. You know, hanging and taping and mudding new drywall is one thing, and I really kind of enjoy it, but patching holes is another, and it can get kind of funky. These patches ended up looking pretty good in the end, but early on in the job, like the first 30 minutes of the job, I wasn't too sure how it was gonna go. I really have no idea what this next job is. Gal called and said she had a hole in her garage. I don't know how big or if it goes all the way through or whatever, but a hole in the garage and some other stuff is hanging down. I don't know if it's like the soffit or siding or drywall or what, but anyway, I'm heading over there. On the way, I'm gonna stop by a house that needs a window repair, check it out, and then a front porch stair thing that I gotta drop a bid off in the next couple days, but I want to look at it before I do that. So two things on the way to the hole in the garage. Okay, that looked pretty nasty. That thing was totally rotten out, and then I think like a squirrel might have been chewing at it or something. So I will send her a message, tell her that I can replace it. It won't be a big deal. Next is the stairs that I gotta check out. That was kind of funny. There were actually 3 stairs, and the bottom one was just like buried and underground. So I think with those, you know, you can kind of build over those things, but with those I'd remove them, and they're really heavy. So I probably have to put them on my trailer or something. But anyway, I'll remove those and just build some wood steps that are pressure treated stuff, and maybe put in a handrail. You don't need one by code because that's such a short porch, but I might put one in. Anyway, if I get the job, I'll just send them a bid and see what they think. And then next up, as I mentioned, was that garage job with some holes. And once I took a look at it, I knew exactly what was going on. It turned out that there were just like various pieces of flashing and eave that were pretty much busted and chewed on and torn off and whatnot. So I talked to the homeowner. We came up with a solution. She's a nice tree-loving lady, and I did suggest cutting out a bunch of trees and having them removed, but she doesn't want to go overboard in that direction. I will come back at a later date, probably this week, maybe next week, do some light pruning and replace portions of the garage just to get it sealed up for winter. I was at a job today assembling a bunch of furniture, and the people had this thing. It's like a TV stand, and it turns out they didn't have any of the bolts and screws or instructions or anything, just this box with the wood. I told them I'd take it back to the shop and try to put it together. And it was kind of fun putting it together. It actually ended up being really easy. It's just a few shelves with some side pieces. It was all pre-drilled and tight hardwood, so it came together pretty solid. I did take a crack at putting the doors on, and I manufactured some pins and everything, but they were kind of sagging and it just didn't look quite right, so it's gonna have to go doorless. I think the people are gonna like it. I'm gonna drop it off on their front porch tomorrow. And that's it for the first ever installment in my Handyman Diaries. I thought it was kind of fun making this video and plan to make another one.